Hi guys, this is Courtney Kenny and I'm here today with Braden Foster.
Hello.
Today we are going to review the NBC hit show Parks and Recreation. I started watching the show recently because Braden highly recommended it, and it did not take me very long to get hooked on the show.
For those of you who don't know what Parks and Rec is all about, I'll give you a brief rundown of the show. So Amy Poehler plays a character named Leslie Knope, who works in the Parks and Recreation department of a small town in Indiana named Pawnee. Throughout the show, it explores plots from heartwarming friendship to downright insanity, including Leslie getting in trouble for marrying two male penguins.
The show is shot in the same sort of style that The Office is, with a handheld camera capturing the action with interviews of the characters spliced in. The whole show is supposed to be like a documentary of sorts, detailing the crazy behavior of the Parks Department.
Part of the reason Parks and Rec is so memorable and loved by its fans is due to the characters, who all have crazy personalities to match the show's tone. While the characters are all very much written for TV, it's hard not to identify with them each episode as they tackle the things life throws at them. It'd be impossible to go through over the 30 characters and side characters that come and go throughout the show, so here we're going to pick our top 3 and talk about them today.
So first I'm going to pick Ben. Ben is a smart guy that unfortunately always has to deliver the bad news. He's not very well liked when he first starts working for the department, but as time goes by, his coworkers start to see his good qualities. I relate to Ben because he is sort of an example of how you can't really please everyone in the real world. He is also the most sensible real character in the show.
All right, so for my pick, I'm going to pick Andy. Andy's played by Chris Pratt before he lost all that weight, and he's a down-on-his-luck wannabe rock star with a serious maturity issue, you could say. When you first meet Andy, he has 2 broken legs from falling in a giant pit behind his house, and he eventually memorializes that incident in a song called The Pit. Eventually, he gets a job shining shoes and selling CDs for his band, which goes from names like Toilet or Chemical Toilet to Mouse Rat, but it usually just sticks at Mouse Rat. Well, not very bright, Andy certainly has the most heart out of all the characters, and he's constantly wanting to help no matter how much he screws it up.
So next up, I have to choose the legendary Ron Swanson. Ron is a whiskey-drinking libertarian who, despite the fact that he works for the Pawnee government, does everything he can to make sure it fails. Ron enjoys hunting, fishing for sport, wood carving, and of course, breakfast foods. If I could pick one thing to compare Ron to, it would be the Grumpy Cat. Ron spends most of his time in his office, ignoring people and relying on Leslie to get the job done. Even though Ron normally wants the government to fail, he always supports Leslie and wants her to succeed, so usually in the end, he does the right thing.
Going from Ron to his faithful assistant, we have April Ludgate, whose job it is to make sure Ron has nothing to do all day. She spends her time directing clients and people, trying to see Ron either out the door or straight up ignoring them as they approach her. The best way to describe April is very interesting, as, for example, her favorite music is Halloween tracks from the 50s in a weird band called Neutral Milk Hotel. Despite her rude and sarcastic appearance, April always cares about the Parks Department, even if she herself doesn't even know it.
My final pick has to be Leslie Knope. Leslie is the main character of the show, and she puts her heart and soul into her job. Her enthusiasm is always over the top, making her coworkers wonder if she ever actually sleeps. Leslie cares almost too much about the people of Pawnee, and she would do literally anything for her town. For example, she slaved for weeks to throw together a harvest festival that would save the town and the Parks Department's jobs. Overall, Leslie is a loyal friend that can take on any challenge that life throws at her.
All right, and for my last pick, I'm going to have to choose the infamous Jean-Ralphio. And this is one of those characters where you either love him as the first time you see him and you like every second he's on screen, or wish that he wasn't in the show to begin with. For me, every time he comes bouncing in with some ridiculous saying, I can't help but laugh. And while his business ventures are usually terrible, like an alcoholic drink called snake juice that poisons everyone, and it's as bad as it sounds, sometimes it works out for him. But his most successful business venture was suing the owner of a Lexus that hit him and that says pretty much everything about him. Ralphio is a very minor character that doesn't always show up, but when he does, it's always fun to watch.
As some of you know, Parks and Rec is being taken off Netflix in June, sadly taking away many people's ability to watch it. So seriously, get on Netflix and watch Parks and Rec.